Hi, beautiful people. Look into the word. Strength, courage, and wisdom. That's what we're talking about tonight. My queen, India Ree. This is the perfect introduction. Oh, hello, beautiful people. All right, we got a really amazing time today. So let me do the intro. And honey, you're in charge of Frankie. Pray for Frankie not to bark. All right. Strength, courage, and wisdom was the introduction. The lovely India Ree, and the reason being is that this conversation with my beautiful friend Kristina is all about strength, courage, and wisdom. So, an introduction for who we have on tonight. Kristina Driscoll was a mom of a young 5-year-old boy when her husband got diagnosed with Alzheimer's. Her life had fallen apart, but yet she had to be brave for her husband and for her young son, but also for herself. 12 years later, her husband died. A tragic loss. She had to take all of her wisdom that she learned during that period and gather all that courage to keep on going. She had a child. And what she ended up doing during that process and what we have tonight is she created by far one of my favorite podcasts. And if you don't know it, for my 9 million followers, you will know it and you will love it. It's called She's Brave with Kristina Driscoll. I'll put it in the thing. But she introduces to me and everyone, she introduces people to women around the world who have had the rug pulled out underneath them, just like her, and yet were brave, resilient, and inspiring. So in 2023, in January, she launched her beautiful podcast called She's Brave, where she interviews women around the world who have overcome obstacles, and she learns how they have become brave, resilient, and authentic. In just under 1 year, people, 1 year, she has become the top 2.5% global podcast queen. Oh my God, top 2.5% in less than a year. Like, drop the mic. She created a Facebook group to support brave women, and her mantra of living the width of your life is feel the fear and do it anyway. Hello, t-shirt. In addition, she's a beautiful, passionate animal activist and helps cats with FIV, if you know cat, if you know what FIV is. And she's working on her book, Unconventional, which we will talk about. I love her podcast so much, and I really love her. And so she's a vibrant, enthusiastic, beautiful woman who has such a vibrancy for life and learning. And her wonder bucket is constantly being filled up over and over again. So what I did for this interview is I love her podcast, but I picked 3 of my favorite episodes. I will dive deep with Kristina on what she has learned, because there are teachers among all of them. There are many teachers, and we're going to have fun. So let me bring on. Et voila. Et voila. And here she is. Abracadabra. Et voila. Here she is. Kristina. It's going to happen. It always happens. Sometimes it takes a little while. All right, so if you don't pop on within a couple seconds, I'm going to have you. There, you've done it again. Okay. Let's see. Et voila. Et voila, la, la. Et voila. It's okay. Sometimes it doesn't work. And we have you come out and come in. So I think she's unable to join. Okay. So the best thing to do is just go out of Instagram, come back in. Oh my God. Yeah.
Woo!
Oh, I love it when it happens. I love it. Yeah, I love it. I love it. Hi, beautiful.
Hello.
Oh my God, I've been so excited for this interview. I'm so grateful for your time. Go. Are you comfortable?
Yeah, I
I
just
want
had
I
to
want
wiggle
more of
around.
you.
Yeah.
Lift your camera a little. I want more of you.
Ah, I,
Like, oh,
I
put a book underneath of it, maybe. Anyway,
ah, okay. You want me a little bit higher
I
up.
want more of
Okay.
you.
Hang on. Let's see.
More of the radiant you.
Maybe that will help.
One more book.
Ooh, let
Or
me.
maybe how does it work? Yeah, if you, oh, you know what? If you pull the phone closer to you, then you get more of you.
Okay. I'm going to try one other thing. Hang on. Hang on. Hang on.
Yeah, we're not going anywhere. All the millions of people are coming on, and I love it. There's the
Oh,
beautiful
is that
Kristina.
good? Is
Oh,
that good?
yeah. Okay. So I had to, I do my homework when I interview people and for people who don't know who I am, I'm Di. I do chatting with Di, and I interview people who teach me, inspire me, and make me laugh. Kristina does all three. But I do my homework. I really do my homework when I interview people. And what I ended up doing is re-listening to three of my favorite episodes. And I want to begin my questions with that. So the first one was an interview that Christina did on her podcast on September 12th of this year with a woman named, I'm probably not pronouncing it right, Tassin Joy.
That's correct.
Tassin? Okay. And I title it Courage with a Loved One's Addiction. How to be Resilient in Crisis with author Tassin Joy. So Tassin Joy lost her father at a very young age of 10 years old and ended up becoming the caretaker for her sister. She fell madly in love with her hubby in high school, but unfortunately the two of them went through a roller coaster of alcoholism and drug addiction. Her beautiful resilience carried her through the darkest years and into a bright light of strength. She is now an embodiment coach and has created Creating Clarity and Wellness with workshops and one-on-one. She blew me away because there were so many quotes, and I'm like, I love that one. But she reminds her clients that every cell remembers. Don't ever forget that, people. And it's stored in our body, showing up later. And she teaches so much, but especially about learning about the layers of trust, and especially within herself. I mean, I could spend an hour talking about her. Just such a beautiful episode that you did with her. So I guess I'll start with what was the greatest tool that she taught you with all of that heartache and breakthroughs, and what resonated most for you in this episode?
Yeah, great question, Diana. I just wanted to preface it with Tassin Joy was somebody that I just live outside of Seattle that I met randomly. And, you got to listen to that intuition. Like, I'm now at a space where I'm interviewing really big names. But I will always interview the everyday woman because we all have a story, so it's always going to be a mix of the two. And when I met Tassin, there was something about her light, and her being. And then I heard her story, and without even knowing much, I said, I want to have you on my podcast. She actually came to my house And it was the first time that I did an in-person. We sat next to each other. Our legs were touching, and we just looked at each other and had this incredible conversation. She's one of the strongest people I've ever met, because when her husband passed out, when she had 2 kids in diapers, the river was flooded. There was no way to get her husband to the hospital but through a helicopter. And the paramedics basically told her, he's overdosed on painkillers. You need to stay up all night. And when he stops breathing, you need to shake him awake. I can't even imagine doing that. Her story's incredible. But what she taught me more than anything, and her husband's been sober for 13 years now, is that number one, beautiful things can come out of bad situations. Like, she has this incredibly rich, beautiful life now. I'm actually taking a course with her because I just love hanging out with her so much. And just being in her presence, you learn from her. And the other message that was so incredible to me is that I think most people, if you have a spouse with a serious addiction issue, there's just nothing but anger and probably a breakup of the marriage, and it's understandable. But she turned it around and made it, she made it good. She made it for good. She, through her husband's recovery, she found herself. She learned how to trust and love all parts of herself. She learned how to hold space for someone else without codependency. And I think the biggest thing I learned from her is that, out of seemingly impossible bad situations, some really incredible things beautiful, happy things can happen to you. And she's really a beautiful example of that. And she also is a very huge proponent and talks a lot on the episode about codependency. And she taught me something, and it went into my body. Something I've heard a million times, but the way she explained it really got into me even further. So I'm going to hold up my hand. Okay. Hopefully you can all see my hand. And in my hand is my heart. Okay. I cherish and I take care of myself, and I love myself, and I love my heart, and my heart is me. And then my husband, he puts his hand underneath mine and cups it. So now there's 2 hands, right? He's holding my hand and he's helping me along my journey. Okay. But let's say something happens, he dies unexpectedly. That hand is gone. It's just me again. It's just me and my heart. So what she teaches is to really, really love others, but to trust yourself first, and how not to be codependent. She was so codependent that she would agree with everything that her husband said. One of the most profound stories in the interview is when her husband said to her, she started on this self-development journey. He did too. He went to rehab, and he's better and everything, but she found herself and realized that she needed to set more boundaries. And one day he said, let's go fishing. We live in the Pacific Northwest. It rains most of the year here. It was raining. It was cold. The old Tassin would have gone fishing with him because that's what she did as a good wife. The new Tassin said, honey, if it's sunny, I love fishing with you. I hate fishing with you when it's raining and cold. So you go out, enjoy yourself, and I'm going to stay home. It's just that simple.
And let that be okay.
And let that be okay. And they're still married. They're still very happily married, probably happier than ever, because she didn't really know who she was, and now she does. And so she's a happier person, and, the marriage is better. And, she also talks about taking time to learn with her husband where he begins and I end, and where I begin and he ends. And that taught me a lot too. And it really taught me, you know, to be aware of my relationship. I'm newly married, and, you know, where does that relationship end and where do I begin? And to not have a deeply codependent relationship, you're both going to be much happier, you know, and to just define who you are. And I have found in my podcasting journey also that, you know, it has just been so many life lessons, you know, so many life lessons. It's like therapy on steroids when you start a podcast. You know, it really is.
That I think I love that I began with her because I found her to be so incredibly layered, but I couldn't imagine her losing her father at 10 and not having a profound impact in how she fell in love in high school and then married and then went through that journey. So all of those, you talk about connect the dots and the codependency. Yeah, I mean, she probably clung on to her husband,
Yeah.
and it didn't work. So I'm really happy I opened with that one. It was one of my favorite episodes. So the second question and topic is courage with grief. And that was an episode in June of this year with the Lori Zaleski. And her title is Laughing with the Funny Farm, How Lori Turned Her Passion into a Mission. So Lori's best friend was her mom, and together they fled an abusive home life and tried every day just to survive, finding refuge in a humble shack in the woods. It is there where they rescued animals and maybe where they actually healed their own heart. At a young age, Lori learned about the healing power of animals. Sadly, she lost her mom to cancer, but continued her mother's work and mission to run the Funny Farm in New Jersey, where she continues to do amazing work daily. As an author, a teacher, and a creator of so much good, including the Kindness Program, which teaches children about anti-bullying and the learning about special needs with several of her friendly animals to show them how different animals interact with each other. Like, wow. So from this horribly abusive family life and living in a shack in the woods with her mom, rescuing these animals, she is now creating this incredible project. So, Christina, you know, that big word grief, which I know you know very well, and I can't imagine anyone here does not know. So, what did you learn from this episode and from Lori, and how did you learn to look at grief differently?
Okay. I'm going to answer how I learned to live at grief differently first. And then I'm going to talk about all the things I've learned from Lori. But Lori took her grief and she made it into something good. You know, when Lori and her mom and her two siblings left the house, her dad was chasing her mom with an axe and he was going to kill her. Okay. So, you know, if anybody has an excuse to be a victim, it was Lori. And growing up with, you know, no water, no running electricity, nothing in the beginning in the shack in the woods. And she's the same age as me. She's 55. Um, she is, you know, she was best friends with her mom, and her mom was this great example, and her mom died young. Her mom died in her early 50s of cancer. And so but Lori was literally a week or two away from signing the papers for a animal rescue farm, an actual legit farm for her mom to rescue more animals, and her mom passed, and she decided to go ahead and do it anyway. So she took that grief and she made it into something construction, you know, constructive. And that that is just brave to me. Um, it is now the largest animal rescue in America.
I
When
have
I
to go there.
yeah,
I have to go.
when I read her book, I wanted to meet her so bad. Like I just gelled with her. I was like, I freaking want to meet this person so bad. And so I had the courage to reach out to her and say, I really, really, really want to interview you. And she said yes. You know, she was one of my first big interviews. She's a New York Times best-selling author. She is just skyrocketing. When I interviewed her, she had 600 animals. Then when it aired, it was 700. I don't know what it is now, 800. She has grit. She has this amazing, she has grit like nobody's business. If you want to be inspired and gain grit, you have to read Lori's book, because you will learn all about grit. And even now, like, so she has a German Shepherd dog. When I was interviewing her, she takes in dogs who would be euthanized because they have to be sitting up in a high chair to be fed. And it's a medical condition, so normally a vet will completely just euthanize that particular dog. She will take them in, and she was feeding one of her dogs in a high chair, and she panned over to and showed feeding the dog, and it's a happy, healthy dog. You know, this woman, and the thing about her is she has grit, grace, and she's gorgeous inside and out. And I just tell her the 3 Gs. And Lori taught me that you can literally go through anything, and turn it all around and make it for good.
Yeah. In real honor of what her mom did for her when she was just trying to survive in that little shack. I mean, her story blows me away, and I don't get to New Jersey much, but it's my neighbor, so I really need to make an effort and
Yeah,
go there.
tell her I said hi. I'm invited anytime to hang out with her.
We'll
She
come
she said to me,
to New York and we'll go
let's
together.
do it. It's a
Today,
plan, because she said, I want to meet you, Kristina. I already feel like you're a friend. And she's so humble. She's so humble, and she's so amazing. And I said, I will. I just need to figure it out. But yeah, we can go meet her and hang
I'd
out with
love
her for the day.
too.
Yeah.
Well, the other thing is all the work she does with children around anti-bullying, which is so profound because, as you said, her father was literally running after her mother with an axe because
Yes.
she knows a little bit about bullying. I
Yes.
mean, like that was her survival mode to get away from that. And I mean, I love everything about what she's doing. So, um, and she sounds really funny too. I mean, how can you not have a funny farm and not be funny, right?
Yeah. She does have a great sense of
Yeah.
humor. She's super lively. She's super energetic. She's super fun to chat with. She's just like your BFF right
Yeah.
away. Like she, like no holds barred, like just 100% genuine and real.
I
She's
mean,
an amazing being.
even in the episode, like I can picture like animals just crawling over her
Oh
and
my
her
gosh. Yeah.
laughing.
Yeah. Like she would
Yeah,
occasionally pan around the room, and I would just be like, oh my gosh.
I know, I know. But I loved it. So the third one is Courage of Diving Deep with Wild Woman Reborn. Oh my God, Kristen Bilodeau. Like, I need to meet her. So, Unlocking Your Wild Woman Spirit with Kristen Bilodeau. I didn't write the date. I think that was pretty recent, but I know it was within the last few months.
Oh, Kristen,
Um,
actually, no, it goes back a ways. It goes back a ways, I
oh,
think.
that
You know,
I'll
because
put it in the notes.
I wanted to share with you that when I interviewed Kristen, she didn't even have a podcast yet. We were pretending that her podcast was up and running, but I knew that I wanted
Yeah.
her on my podcast. And I'm like that. Like
Well,
people, you fit into
when you
my life,
know, yeah,
or
yeah.
you're going to get on my podcast. And I knew she was destined for greatness. Like I just saw it in her, and I went, yes.
I've been following her and I've actually reached out to her and I want to be on her podcast and I want to interview her.
Yeah.
But for the viewers, Kristen Bilodeau had really hit rock bottom in her life. Her marriage was struggling, a mom of a young boy. She had a miscarriage with her second. She suffered a true breakdown and the pain was the deepest that she had ever felt. She dove deep and did all of the work on herself. And ultimately, her mantra was she never wanted women to feel the pain that she did. Now a new mama to two boys, an author, a teacher, and a podcast host of The Wild Women Reborn. She inspires women to access their wild women spirit and awaken within. I learned so much from this episode, but I loved the idea of pruning the tree of oneself and making space just to be. So, Kristina, there's so much wisdom in that moment of vulnerability. And Kristen shares that so beautifully and honestly. So, where in your life did you feel that vulnerability was your teacher? And how and what did diving deep mean to you?
Yeah, vulnerability. People don't believe me, but I'm actually an introvert. I turn extroverted when I hit record, but I'm an introvert, and my whole life I've been a really private person. But in podcasting, I've learned that being vulnerable is a superpower. And the more vulnerable you can be, the better people feel about you, the more they trust you, the more they relate to you. And I began on my podcasting journey to open up, and it started happening in my personal life as well. I have a friend of probably 10 years. And in the beginning, a few months back, I have been practicing being more and more vulnerable, because I find the more vulnerable I am, the more beautiful my life gets. And so my husband and I were over at my friend's house and her husband for dinner. And I decided to get vulnerable, get really real about some stuff. So I did. And I found out, and all of a sudden she opened up and she began to cry. And she told me about a brother that I didn't even know existed, who is in a gang in LA and spends most of his time in jail throughout his whole life. And that conversation that night, the four of us, not just me and her, but our husbands, we all opened up and we got really real. Not, oh, our life is Instagram perfect. No, that's not the case. And it's just a game changer if you can learn to open up more. And when you're vulnerable to someone, I feel like it's a gift that you give them, because it gives them permission to be vulnerable with you. And then the relationship becomes, it goes to a deeper level. And that is just such a gift. And that is like one of the most important things for our mental health, is to really open up to people, to get deep, to be vulnerable. It's just, I would say that's the greatest lesson that I learned from Kristen. And, because she's an open book. And, the other thing I love about her is she is just super passionate about her podcast. And so she is the true example of living, aligned to your purpose. Like, she knows that she's a great role model. She's very humble. She can be a bit quiet, but she knows this is her path. And I'm the same way, just super passionate, super aligned with getting women's voices heard all around the world. And yeah, that was, I saw that in her even before her first episode.
I love that. I so thank you for sharing that story about your dinner with your friend. I think you really nailed it. That we all have friendships and they're different layers, but when you have a friendship that might be, um, you haven't gone that level with them, and then you like rip off your clothes. Well, not really, but you just do it. You just go, hey, this is something in my life that I want to share. And then they mirror it back to you. I honestly believe what you said is so true. It is a gift. It was a gift for your friend, for her to be able to share that. And it's a gift for you to say, I'm actually safe. I'm okay. And the first woman, Tassin said, what does she say? Every cell remembers in our body. Everything that we go through in our life remembers in our body. Like my favorite book, The Body Keeps the Score. And if we have these pains or wounds or traumas, and we keep them here and hidden, but if we're vulnerable enough to release them, it frees up that cell to bring love into your life. I mean, it's just such a great gift, and it's a difficult one. I applaud her for what she went through, but look at what she's doing now. She's like her true self. She has a beautiful podcast, 2 babies. She's an author. I mean, I love I will tell you, Christina, I love your podcast so much because it shows you talk about grit and grace. It shows that like rock hard, like fuck shit. Because it is shit out there. We don't need to go into that, but that life can be really hard, but life can be so amazing. And it's both. It's the duality. And your podcast is by far one of my favorites because I end every episode like, oh my God, I could do anything if they did it. I mean, I'm normally crying and laughing and doing all the things, but for all my 9 million followers, they now will be following you. So you won't only be the top 5% of you'll be the #1 podcast in the world.
I
So we're
just
running up to yeah,
I just wanted
yeah.
to add one other thing about that conversation with the friend that I'd had for 10 years, because I wanted to clarify something. I have a number of friends that, no holds barred, right? Like I've opened up, I've been vulnerable 100%. They know everything about me. I know everything about them. This particular friend was one of those people who lives, the Facebook perfect life. She's drop dead gorgeous. She has this amazing corporate job, amazing, beautiful family. On the outside, her life looks perfect. And she never felt safe to open up to anybody about it not being perfect. So I was taking a risk by, saying, hello, we've been talking on the surface for 10 years. I'd like to take this to another level, and didn't know what was going to happen. But I think it's worth it for some of those friends out there that you feel like there's a wall up. Try it. Just like share something really vulnerable about yourself. Just do it and see what happens.
I love that. And you know what? You have nothing to lose, right?
Yeah.
You have nothing to lose. And now I'm sure your friendship of 10 years is a whole different
Yeah.
friendship now. I
Yeah.
mean, you allowed her to share something that painful and intimate that maybe she needed to get off of her chest. So
Yeah.
I love that. I love that. So, number 4, as we wrap up, my business is called Healing Fully, Living Freely, which came through my health journey. What does healing fully, living freely mean to you?
Ooh, good question. Healing fully, living
Living
freely. Yeah,
freely, yeah, I typed it
yeah.
wrong
For
on your
me,
picture.
my podcast is really, really emphasizing a lot about living freely. It's about being 100% real, authentic. A lot of us, I think we are fed through the social media, through TV and everything else, how our life is supposed to look. But that doesn't necessarily mean, and that those things are going to make us happy. If you do this is going to that's not necessarily what's going to make you happy. And a lot of us make decisions based on what other people think of us. So I should make a decision that other people approve of. That's not a good idea. And actually, if you're doing that continuously, if you're always making a decision based on hoping that everybody, as much as possible, agrees with this decision, you're not free. You make decisions based on what's best for you, regardless of what other people think. That takes a lot of courage. That takes a lot of bravery. That's the essence of She's Brave.
Yeah.
And give me the question one more time, because I know
Yeah.
there's more to this.
Yeah. So the question is, I started a business called Healing Fully, Living Freely.
Yeah.
And I love to ask my guests, what does that mean to you?
Yeah. So healing fully means balance, which I think in today's world is almost impossible to find. And all of us struggle to find balance in our life because we have phones that we can be on 24 hours a day. And there's always something that we can be doing on our phone. There's always something we can be doing to make ourselves better. And I think that one of the best ways you can heal yourself, and what I do, when I'm really in a bad spot, I take the dog and go hiking. Like I'm
Love
blessed
it.
that I have actual real forest and hiking
Yeah.
in like hill
I mean, you
10
have a
minutes
beautiful
away.
place to hike.
But
Yeah.
so that's sort of how I take a break mentally. But I think in today's world, we're not taking enough mental breaks, and you know, that's just the key to it all. And when we have those mental breaks, the creativity comes in, and everything else in our life kind of gets better. We start eating better. Like, that's your thing, which is why I love you so much, because I need help with better eating. Like,
Oh, well,
I'm weak
come on.
on
Let's have a talk. Let's
yeah,
have a call.
yeah.
Oh,
So
I love talking to people about eating healthy.
yeah,
I make it fun. I
yeah.
really make it
You
fun.
do, you do. Yeah, yeah,
It has to be fun.
yeah.
Um, I know that I don't know where you're at with it, but I heard through the grapevine that you're working on a book, and I heard a couple titles. Do you want to share with the followers about your book, and then where can we find you?
Yeah. So I am working on a book called Unconventional, because I have lived a very unconventional life. And it's really an example of inspiring other women to also find and follow their own path, not worrying about what other people think. Um, but I wanted to also put it out there that I'm actually teaching my first podcasting class. I have 70 people in it. I didn't advertise it publicly. I just put it in a podcasting group. It's called How to Get in the Top 2.5% in 6 months, because that's what I did. And that class is in session right now, but I have a new class coming up in January, mid-January. It's starting, and I'm going to be actually officially advertising this class, and
I
it'll
love
be,
it.
I would like to keep it affordable for people. And so it's probably going to be around the $200 range, or $197,
What
something like
period of
that.
time? How long is the class?
So it'll be starting Tuesday, January 15th, and it'll be about eight like sessions where you get pages and workbooks, and you get an hour with me recorded. You can go back. So if you can't do it live, you get the
I
recording, you go
love
back on.
that for
And
you. Oh
then
my
I
God.
believe on Sunday mornings we're going to do an accountability session for an hour, where we each take a turn to write down what we want to work on, and then we work on it for about 20 minutes, and then we share it, and then go on with our week. Because one of the big issues in podcasting is a couple of things. Some podcasters teach too quickly, and then you get overwhelmed, and then you quit. My class is pretty slow paced, but that can be a problem too, because sometimes if it's slower paced, people lose momentum.
Ah,
So there has to be some accountability in there. So I'm trying to incorporate all of that.
I think that's incredible. I love that you're doing that. I'm going to email you. I have two incredible women. I don't know how booked up you are. I have two women that will really blow your mind, and I'd
Okay,
love you
great,
to
great.
chat with them.
Yeah.
Where can people find you?
Yeah, so I'm on at She's Brave podcast on Instagram. I paid zero attention to Instagram until about a month ago, and then I didn't like it, but now I'm figuring it out. I don't like tech, so I have to take things slowly. I'm just learning Instagram now.
All right.
I used to slap things up, but I just I did my first reel of me talking for a couple of minutes. It has almost 50,000 views.
Oh my God,
1,000
50,000!
views.
Are you
Views.
kidding me?
No, like about 500 likes, but actual views, where you can
I
click on
mean,
the
yeah,
views,
I know views. I've never had
50,000.
that.
50,000.
Look at you,
So
girl. I love
seriously,
it.
my podcast is just, but I think you have to work at your own pace. Like for me, tech was really scary and overwhelming. So I just kind of put that on the back burner and learned the very, very basics. And now I'm diving more into tech, and what works and what doesn't work, and reels, and getting yourself out there in that way. You just work at your own pace. That's part of my podcasting class too. Work at your own pace.
I think I'm so happy that you have a class. I did not know that, and I
Yeah,
think it's
it's a very new
incredible.
thing. It just popped it. I didn't know it was going to happen. It became very clear that I was in some podcasting groups and I was like, dudes, you guys need to know the stuff that I learned.
Yeah,
You need
yeah,
to know. You need to know
yeah. I
how I got to in the top 2.5% in 6 months. You guys need to know how to do
yeah,
this. And then I just
yeah.
said, who wants to be in the class? And 70
Oh
people
look,
signed up. So,
Jody just came on. Jody, you're gonna have to watch the replay. Jody is the incredible woman that I want you to meet.
okay.
You will be blown away by her.
Okay.
Jody, I'm gonna put you two in an email.
Okay.
She has my heart. You have my heart. I'm so grateful for your time. I know you have a lot on your plate. You have your book, you have your podcast, which everyone's gonna
I'm
follow.
slammed right now.
Yeah,
I'm
so I'm so grateful. We went a little bit over, but I love you.
I
I
love
can't wait to
you
meet you.
too.
And we should go to the funny farm. I mean, not the funny farm together, but the funny
The
farm,
animal rescue.
the
So yeah,
animal rescue.
let's make a
I
plan
would love
for that.
that.
I don't want to do it in winter. I'm just going to be real with
No,
you.
I
Let's
know.
make it for like March or April, and I'll
I
fly to
love
New
that.
York. We'll
I
hang
love
out,
that.
and we'll go to Jersey together and hang out with Lori.
I love
So
it.
yeah,
It's a date. It's
yeah,
a date.
yeah.
It's a date. So I'm going to say goodbye to you, and then I'm going to do my closing. I love you.
I love you too,
I'm so
Diana. Thank you
grateful.
so much.
All right.
Bye.
I'll put all the notes in here. All right. Bye. And then you check X out at the little X. There you go. Oh my God. Jody, you two are going to connect. I want you to be in her podcast. But anyway, I thank you, all you beautiful people that were here. I've been wanting to interview Kristina for a really long time. She's an incredible woman. If you're just coming on now, she has a podcast called She's Brave. She's incredibly brave. When her son was 5 years old, her late husband was diagnosed with early onset Alzheimer's, and for 12 years she cared for a young son and a husband. He ultimately died, and she had so much courage and really dove into what it meant to be brave, which Jody, I know you know. And thank you, Gilbert. And she created a podcast called She's Brave, and she interviews the coolest women, and women that have like gone through hell and back, women who were abused, women who went through addiction, women who lost everything, and they got through it, and they're these incredible women. And I just interviewed, talked about three of them, but she has 1 year of people that really have inspired me. And they're changing. And now she's teaching people how to do a podcast because she is now at the 2.5 percentage of the highest top global podcast host in the world. And I just had her on Chatting Would Die. Anyway, so I'm going to end with my mantra, with my song. Tonight is India Re, strength, courage, and wisdom. Strength, courage, and wisdom, baby. That's what you gotta have. Gotta step out on faith. Such a great interview. All right, come on, India. Get to the tagline. I know, Jody. Oh, you're gonna love her. I'll put you in an email. All right, here's the tagline. Strength, courage, and wisdom. It's inside of me, it's inside of India Ree, and it's inside of all of you. And thank you for Kristina. What an interview. A good one. Karen Makeup, hello. And Frankie did okay.